धनं सनिष्यन्ति नामात्मानं तवा पुरुषा निष्कृतिर्नामा वो माताथो यूयं स्थनिष्कृतिः क्षीरापादत्रिणे स्थनयदामयाति निष्कृता अतिविश्वाः परिष्ठास्तेन एव व्रजमक्रमः ओषाधे प्राचित्य मुर्यत्किञ्च तन्वो ओरपाः यदि मा वादयन्नहमोषाधीर्हस्ता आदधे आत्मा यक्ष्मस्य नश्यति पुराजीव गृभो यथा यस्योषधे प्रसत्पथाङ्गामङ्गं परुष्परुः ततो यक्ष्मं विवादध्व उग्रो मध्यमशीरीव साकं यक्ष्म प्रभातचाशेन किकिदीपिना साकं वाजस्य ध्राज्या साकन्नस्य निहाकाया अन्यावो अन्यामावत्वन्यान्यस्या उपावता ताः सर्वाः संविधाना इदं मे प्रावातावचा याः फलिनीर्याः फलाः पुष्पायाश्च पुष्पिणीः बृहस्पतिप्रसूतास्तानो मुञ्चन्तु मासः मुञ्चन्तो मासपथ्या आदथो वरुण्यादुता अथो यमस्य पत्नी ईशात् सर्वस्मात् देवकिल्बिषात् अवपतन्तेरवदन्ति व ओषाधयस्पति यञ्जीवमश्नवामहेन सरिच्छाति पूरुषः या ओषाधे सोमाराग्निर्बह्वीश्च तदीचक्षणाः तासां तवस्युत्तमारं कामायशं हृदे या ओषाधे सोमाराग्निर्विष्ठिताः पृथिवीमनो बृहस्पतिप्रसूता अस्यै सन्धत्तवीर्यं मा वो रिषत्खनिता यस्मै चाहं खनामि वः द्विपच्चतुष्पदस्माकं सर्वामस्मनातुरम् याश्चेदमोपशृण्वन्ति याश्च दूरं परागताः सर्वाः सङ्गत्या वीरुधोऽस्यै सन्दत्तवीर्यम् ओषाधयः संवादन्ते सोमेन सह राज्ञा यस्मै कृणोति ब्राह्मणस्त्वं राजन् वारयामसि त्वमुत्तमास्योषधे तवा वृक्षा उपस्थयः उपस्थिरस्तु सोऽस्माकं यो अस्मान् अभिदासाति शान्ता पृथिवी शिवमन्तरिक्षं योर्नो देव्यभायन्नो अस्तु शिवादिशः प्रदिश उद्दिशो न आपो विश्वतः परिपान्तु सर्वतः शान्तिः 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 हरिः ओम्
ओम स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम। स्वस्ति नो मिमीतामश्विना भगः स्वस्ति देव्यदितिरनर्पणाः स्वस्ति पूषा असुरो दधातु नः स्वस्ति द्यावा पृथिवी सुचेतुना स्वस्तये वायुमुपब्रवामहै सोमम् स्वस्ति भुवनस्य यस्पतिः बृहस्पतिं सर्वगणं स्वस्तये स्वस्तय आदित्यासो भवन्तु नः विश्वे देवानो अद्य स्वस्तये वैश्वानरो वसुरग्निः स्वस्तये देवा अवन्त्वभुवः स्वस्तये स्वस्ति नो रुद्रः पात्वं हसः स्वस्ति मित्रावरुणा स्वस्ति पथ्ये रेवति स्वस्ति न इन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च स्वस्ति नो अदिते कृधि स्वस्ति पन्थामनुचरेम सूर्या चन्द्रमसा आविवा पुनर्ददताघ्नता जानता संगमे मही स्वस्त्ययनन्तार्क्ष्यमरिष्टनेमिं महद्भूतं वायसं देवता आनाम् असुरघ्नमिन्द्रसखं समत्सु बृहद्यशो नावमिवारुहेमा अम्पो मुचमाङ्गिरसं जयन्तस्वस्त्या आत्रेयं मनसा च तार्क्ष्यम् प्रयतपाणिः शरणं प्रपद्ये स्वस्ति सम्बाधेष्वभयन्नो अस्तु ओम शांति शांति शांति.
Namaste. Yesterday we had a wonderful long day sessions, 3 sessions. Today we are going to continue with the first session of the day. Professor Pankaj Jain is going to be the first speaker of the day. Professor Pankaj Jain is the chair of India Initiatives. He is the editor of Springer Encyclopedia of Hinduism, and he is associate professor at Department of Philosophy and Religion, University of North Texas. He has toured India talking about the Dharma ecology. Particularly, he specializes in Jain ecology, and today he is going to talk about the ecological concepts of Jainism. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Paturi. Thank you, Harikaranji and the team for organizing this wonderful first ever entire conference on this topic of indigenous traditions and ecology. I am pretty sure that many speakers have already touched upon Hinduism and ecology, Hindu Dharma and ecology, which is also actually my core area. My first book, my PhD dissertation was on Hinduism and ecology, actually, mostly Hinduism and ecology, focusing on the Bishnoi community, Swadhyay Parivar, and Bhil community in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Rajasthan area. My second book was based on indigenous native traditions of Himalayas and Punjab, Sikhism and Uttarakhand traditions, and some local groups, what they're trying to do to save the environmental resources in Uttarakhand and Punjab. So that was my second book. But today I thought, because the conference that you have organized does mention that you want to cover Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, paganism, and so on, I thought I'll focus on Jainism today so that it will be a little bit newer and different from other speakers. So I'm focusing on Jainism, Jain Dharma and ecology. Because in my observation, dealing with or teaching or researching these topics for almost 2 decades now, there are some things that I would like to continue to remind. Maybe many of us already know this, but I'll just, in my own humble way, I'll just remind that, share that how exactly is Jainism or Jain Dharma or Jain philosophy, how is it different from Hindu philosophy or Hindu Dharma? Many times in Western encyclopedia and even Indian people's thoughts, I think it comes across as if Jainism is an offshoot of Hinduism. That's, at least in English language, that kind of a line is used, which is partly true and partly not true, because Jains have no problem in calling themselves as Hindus, at least in my, at least some of the Jain people. Some may just deny even that. They might say that no, Jain people are different from Hindu people. That's a bigger controversy. But Jain philosophy can be seen as with some overlaps and some common elements with Hindu philosophy, obviously karma and many other things. But some things are really distinct and different from Hindu philosophy. For example, Jain philosophy says that there is no creator God, there is no preserver God, there is no destroyer God. There is the time, the universe, the cycle is eternal. It never was created and it will never end. So it's an eternal cycle, eternal process. It will go on forever, universe and time and soul. Every soul, even after attaining the enlightenment, even after moksha, the soul remains separate and distinct from all the other souls in the universe. So there is no Brahman where all souls are merging, to put it simply, how Advaita Vedanta will teach us. Here in Jain Dharma, each soul remains distinct and separate for eternity. Even after moksha, it goes into some, if I crudely translate, some kind of a moksha land. It's called Siddhashila, on the top of the universe, where all the souls will stay there forever in perfect peace, perfect energy, and perfect omniscience or sarvagyata. But the souls will remain separate and distinct from all the other souls. So these are really interesting and different features of Jain Dharma that I thought I'll share more. So let's now, all of these philosophical ideas of Jain Dharma, how they connect with environmental themes. That is the topic of the conference. So let me now share that. So time is less, so I'll again have to cut down a lot of things here. So I'll just skip here. To keep it very short, I think in one or two lines, I think we know that there are several environmental problems in India. So from one perspective, India is suffering from the similar issues that are going on elsewhere as well. But from other perspective, we can say that India, at least from National Geographic survey so National Geographic is a prominent magazine published in America, but read across the world. And whenever they have done surveys to count the carbon footprint of each economy or each country, compare, major countries such as Brazil and China and India and Australia, United States, Canada, and European nations, India comes across as the greenest nation, greenest economy, because of the overall carbon footprint is least in India. Why is that? So they count these carbon footprints in 4 different categories. Housing needs in India are still very less, because many people, 2 or 3 generations, live together under one roof. Even today, it's possible. And in my own home right now, my parents live with me, even here in the United States. But in India, it's very common to live people, joint families, still a phenomenon. Transportation, public transport is simply the need of the hour in India. People cannot, even if they own the cars, they cannot all drive at the same time, or not each member of the family will have his or her own separate car. People like to carpool and just use public transport to avoid the congestion and whatnot. But the biggest reason for India's carbon footprint, which is the lowest in the world compared to other major countries or economies, is that India's meat needs are still very less. Even though some people may consume egg or meat occasionally, but that's not as if they need meat twice or thrice a day. Meat consumption is still very, very less in India. That puts India's carbon footprint at the lowest scale. So that's one reason, major reason. And that lowest meat consumption in India, in my opinion or my research, I would like to attribute it to the influence of Buddhism and Jainism as it happened more than 2 millennia ago, when Buddha and Mahavira, when the entire world was experiencing this Axis age, where Socrates and Plato in Greece, Zoroaster in Middle East, Lao Tzu and Confucius in China, and Buddha and Mahavira were very influential. And as they taught their philosophies and their traditions, overall, I think many Indians from that point on cut down their meat consumption, and Indians overall then became more and more conscious about what kind of food they're eating. So that now translates into the lowest carbon footprint, as I was alluding to in the beginning. So why are Jains so obsessed about vegetarianism? If we take a deeper look, as I was again touching in the beginning, what exactly happens in the Jain cosmology? Why is eating other beings is such a problem in the Jain tradition? Here is a bit more deeper perspective on that. So Jain cosmology looks at the universe in this shape. The Jain universe looks like this, as if a human being is standing with his hands on his waist, and that's how the universe is. So in the center region is the earth. The uppermost region of the universe is what I was calling Siddhashila or Moksha land, is where all the souls reside forever after they attain moksha. These are the regions of 7 heavens and 8 hells. So hells, and then earth, and then heavens, and the moksha land, or the Siddhashila. Now, all of these, the entire universe is filled with millions and millions of distinct, separate souls, and each soul is interconnected in its survival, in its existence. So Jain philosophy teaches that every soul wants to live forever. Nobody wants to be pained. Nobody wants to be hurt. So we live by supporting and taking care of each other. So non-violence becomes a prominent philosophy. So for your own survival, you cannot hurt other beings, because every being wants to also survive and flourish in this universe. And through the cycle of rebirth or transmigration or punarjanam, all of the souls are interconnected also, even beyond this one lifetime, because the life is infinite. The journey of the soul is infinite also. So that's the Jain cosmology. So one's present is connected with others past or future through this cycle of transmigration or punarjanam. So that's why to avoid harming other beings in the universe is extremely important for Jain tradition, because as if somebody is hurting other beings, it's creating more negative karmas. And for moksha, not just negative karma, but even positive karma are to be completely cleansed off, so that those souls can go to the ultimate Siddhashila. So that's in short, in nutshell, Jain philosophy and cosmology. Again, time is less, so I'm a bit rushing forward. So what Jain taxonomy teaches is by a prominent Jain thinker, Acharya of 11th century, Shanti Suri. In his Jain Vichar Prakaran, he categorized all the beings in the universe in 5 categories, depending on how many senses they have. So humans and gods and demons and mammals and reptiles and birds have 5 senses. So touch, taste, sense, smell, and hear. They are the sentient beings and non-sentient beings. So these are all equal. So, and then lower than that are the beings with only four senses: touch, taste, smell, and see. Butterflies, flies, and bees. And then touch, taste, and smell, insects and spiders. And then only 2 senses: touch and taste, worms, leeches, oysters, and snails. And finally, only 1 sense beings. So Earth is also imagined with earth-bodied beings have their own separate, distinct souls. Water-bodied beings. So water also has soul. Water-bodied beings also have souls, distinct, separate souls. Fire-bodied beings and air-bodied beings. And the Nigoda are the one-sense beings, also like one-cell beings, like amoeba or virus particles, for example. And then plants. So Jain taxonomy or philosophy teaches that for human survival, if humans are killing other mammals or reptiles or birds, it is as if equal to killing another human being. So that's why Jain philosophy emphasizes so much on vegetarianism. So meat coming out from birds or reptiles or mammals is as bad as coming from a human being. So that's all on the same level, same hierarchy, right? So how should humans live in this universe? Humans should live in the universe by taking minimum of earth, minimum of water, minimum of fire, minimum of air, and minimum of Nigoda and minimum of plants. So minimizing the consumption coming out from one-sense beings only. So that's the, in nutshell, idea of vegetarianism and how Jainism inspired millions of people to cut down their meat consumption, avoid completely meat consumption, or even among the plants. not all plants can be consumed by Jains, so roots and stem cannot be eaten. So carrots and radish and potatoes and onions and garlics are all to be avoided by Jains because they are all coming from roots or stems of a plant. So that's again extremely violent to kill the entire plant by root or stem. So even those are avoided. Air is to be minimized also. So you may have seen many Jain monks and nuns, they keep some kind of a mask on their face even before the pandemic, just to minimize even the consumption of air or even accidental ingestion of any microbes coming from air. Minimizing fire usage by Jains. So many Jains, devout Jains, after sunset will not consume any food. They will not even switch on any light to minimize again fire. Why even cause any harm to fire-bodied beings, souls in the fire-bodied beings. So even consumption of fire is to be minimized. Water is to be also taken with extreme care, extremely frugal usage of water. And earth, minimizing the usage of earth, minimizing the usage of any resources that is coming from the earth. So that is the way Jains have been living for more than several millennia, and that connects very well now with keeping the carbon footprint low, keeping the climate change in check, and keeping the biodiversity intact also. So these are some of the ideas that I thought I'll share. That's another perspective on Jain taxonomy. World consists of living beings and non-living beings. Soul can be mundane or liberated. Liberated are already attained moksha. And then mundane beings can be immobile, which is one-sensed beings of earth, water, fire, air, or plants. And mobile beings can be 2, 3, 4, or 5-sensed beings. So that's another perspective of the same taxonomy. Then Jain philosophy or Jain Dharma is also called as a philosophy or Dharma of triple A's: ahimsa, aparigraha, and anekantvad. So ahimsa obviously translates very well with environmental protection by not causing harm to any plant or any living being in the universe. Aparigraha, cutting down one's consumption, cutting down one's accumulation, that connects very well with keeping the carbon footprint low. And anekantvad connects with, can be summarized by the story of this elephant and 6 blind men trying to touch this elephant and coming up with different conclusions. But each perspective is partially true. So to arrive at the final truth or full truth, we need to combine all the different perspectives without rejecting anybody as if they are wrong. So that can be translated into environmental protection by saying that not just human perspective is true for the environment, but even animals' perspectives should be taken into account. What could be the Earth's perspective towards environmental protection? So every perspective is to be combined, not just anthropocentric perspective or egocentric perspective. So there is a plurality of reality and reality of plurality. That singularity creates bigotry and fanaticism and whatnot. So that's why we need to combine all these pluralistic perspectives. That's in a nutshell definition of anekantvad. In the history of Jain tradition, 24th Tirthankar was the contemporary of the Buddha. So let's start from this here, Mahavira. So Mahavir lived in 600 BCE, 600 before Common Era, almost contemporary to the Buddha. As he was passing away around the age of 70, he sends his most chosen disciple away from himself, and he says that there is somebody is trying to kill some cattle, so go and stop that slaughter. So even at his last breath, Mahavir is very conscious of cutting down the violence, minimizing the violence, stopping the violence. And in his own teachings, Mahavir says trees are inherently valuable. Vegetation has life just as humans have. So long before science discovered plants have life, Jain Tirthankar Mahavir was already saying these things. Even before Mahavir, Parshvanath has a similar story where he is inspired when somebody is trying to burn a snake. Parshvanath takes a step and he responds to that. He saves that snake, and that out of compassion, he eventually renounces his kingdom, his wealth, and his princely life, and becomes a Tirthankar and attains moksha. Similarly, Neminath, the 22nd Tirthankar, also responds to animal slaughter, and he also similarly teaches about compassion. So those are the teachings that Jains have been always remind themselves of, and that's how they have tried to follow the principles of non-violence over the millennia. In other texts, in Tattva Sutra, for example, there are sayings like this: souls render service to one another, so all souls should live together without harming or without causing any hurt to any soul in the universe. We should live like behavior of the, we should learn from the bees. Bees take very small nectar from each flower without causing any harm to any flower or any plant. Similarly, humans should live by minimizing their need, by minimizing their consumption without causing any harm to the nature. Forests are like saints. Trees should be planted for positive karma. These are the kind of teachings that Jains have been taught, and the teachings that have been propagated over centuries. Then over the centuries, Jain householders have been, so these are the teachings and the Jain monks and nuns and Jain acharyas and Tirthankaras. But even Jain householders, if you notice, most Jains, even today, you will rarely find any Jain getting involved into the profession of charcoal trading or timber trading, pulling animals in carts, trading of alcohol, slave trading, weapons trading, poison trading, even sugarcane trading, firearms trading, construction of lakes. These are all to be avoided by Jain, even Jain householders, Jain lay people. What they will do, what you will find them doing is that most Jain lay people will be doing either trading kind of work, banking, relatively more non-violent. So trading work, banking, commercial activities, clerical activities, diamond trading, traditional medicine, arts and crafts, government or ruler, working for a ruler or government, manufacturing, textile machines, publishing and media and education. These are the historically considered much more non-violent professions compared to the right side column, which is seen as more violent. So Jain householders also try to prefer to avoid violent professions and go for more non-violent. All right, let's keep going. I'm not sure how much time we have, but there are other philosophers in the West whose theories can be compared pretty well with the Jain ideas, where Brian Sim talks about that material objects leads to consumerism, consumerism leads to depression. So Brian Sim is a contemporary philosopher in America, but that is already that can be easily compared with the Jain idea of aparigraha or non-accumulation, which is all about cutting down one's consumerism, cutting down of minimizing one's accumulation of material objects. Then he says also that Earth is alive and Earth responds to our presence. That goes very well with Jain idea that Earth-bodied beings are alive and Earth also has soul. Then Brian Sim says that because of Big Bang theory, we all come from single origins. So we are all siblings. All the beings in the universe are all siblings. That goes very well with Jain respect for all jivas. That's by Brian Sim. And the next philosopher that I would like to share is Thomas Berry and David Abram. Berry says that world is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects, which means that every thing in the universe, so-called what we might consider as non-living, even that is a subject, not an object to be consumed. That goes very well, I think, with Jain view of soul in all beings. So earth and plants and everything has a soul. So everything has an agency. Everything is a subject, not an object. Then Abram says diversity of local forms, and that goes well with Mahavir says that we should change minds of the people, not enforce our ideology on them. Trees are inherently valuable for beauty and strength. And then David Abram says that senses are equally important to study external reality from objective perspective. And that goes very well with the focus on empiricism in Jain philosophy, in Tattva Sutra, for example. So objective study, and that's also compares well with David Abram and Thomas Berry. Then other examples, at least Jain historical text mention that Ashoka's grandfather, Chandragupta Maurya, and Ashoka's grandson had both converted to Jainism in their later part of their life, and they lived as Jain monks in their life. In Gujarat, several kings had supported and embraced Jainism, and they propagated these non-violent teachings. Jain acharyas were very influential in meeting Mughal emperors such as Akbar and Jahangir, and even before Mughal emperors such as Tughlaq, also they had met, and they convinced these Muslim emperors also to adopt non-violence and vegetarianism for some part of the month, and even to that extent they achieved some success in spreading non-violence. How much time we have, Nagaraji? I can go on forever, but I'd like to respect the time. Okay, then Then there is Srimad Rajchandra, and he had corresponded with Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, when Gandhi was in South Africa. Now, Srimad Rajchandra had corresponded with Gandhi for 6 years, and Gandhi took several of his ideas and principles, and that became the pillar of his own life. Gandhi's life is based on Satya and Ahimsa, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Purusharth, and Upvas, and Gandhi's whole life can be seen as a living testimony, living laboratory of these principles, where Gandhi's own food, for example, consisted only of small meals of nuts and fruits, minimizing the food consumption, daily ablutions and bodily practices. Gandhi practiced yoga and meditation and whatnot. His own practice of silence can be compared very well with Maun Vrat that many Jain and Hindu sannyasis also practice. Morning walks compare very well with Jain munis who only walk. Jain munis they never take any ride on any vehicle, so only walking. Cultivation of small with a big. Gandhi takes care of even a small, every small animal in his ashram, and that goes well with the Jain and Hindu teachings. Spinning wheel of Purusharth, that I'll make my own cloth instead of depending on the textile cloth that was coming from the British. Abhorrence of waste. So all of these ideas were inspired by these principles that he took from Jain Guru Rajchandra, with whom he corresponded for 6 years. So that's Gandhi's life can be seen as some kind of an manifestation or example of practice of Jain ideas. Jains today, unfortunately, are not sticking to those core ideas that we took a look. Some of the Jain industries are getting indulged in some pollutions and strip mining industries and wastage of resources. But on the other hand, Jains are still supporting thousands of cattle sanctuaries across the world, with Hindus, of course. And then Bird Hospital in Delhi is also a very prominent example of Jain nonviolence and compassion for animals. Many of the wildlife sanctuaries in India, for example, Goa's largest wildlife sanctuary is supported by local Jains there. Jains are very active in promoting beef ban, for example, Pinjar poles, animal sanctuaries. Many Jain temples have gone solar to cut down their usage of Earth's resources, fossil fuel across India and across America as well. Many traditional villages, such as Kichen village in Rajasthan, is supported by Jains, where they take care of the birds, the cranes that are coming from Siberia. The Jains are the prominent supporters of or practitioners of compassion for animals and birds. And then here in America, also similarly, Jain temples have gone green and cutting down their fossil fuel and so on. This I'll skip. I think I'll skip to the next one. And cattle sanctuary, similarly, so supporting more animal work in America as well. Going solar, as I mentioned. And that's it, I think. I hope I'm well within my time. These are my books, so if I have more time, can go on forever, but I'll stop and maybe.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Professor Jain has waked through the night now. It is midnight in America. We are grateful to you, sir. Are there questions to him? Let me just check.
If there are any questions, I can take some questions. If not, maybe next.
What is the idea behind consumption of dairy products like milk, dahi, etc.? Is from Sachi Jain.
Yeah. Milk is an interesting question. Some Jain texts do say that even milk and dairy products are also to be avoided. Many Jain monks and nuns, even in contemporary India, have gone vegan, and they are discouraging the use of dairy products, because dairy, as we know now, is not non-violent at all. Many dairies are using very violent means to extract milk from cattle. So many Jains are actively promoting veganism.
There is one more question from Sneha Chavan. Isn't the diamond industry related to slavery?
Yeah. Diamond industry, contemporary world is not violent, not non-violent. Also, it's very, very violent in Africa, especially slavery and all that. So probably because Jains didn't see the violence being committed, with direct means, so they took it as a non-violent profession. But now we know that diamond trading is also very controversial. But Jains are now, we like it or not, Jains and Jews across the world are the leaders in this diamond trading across the world, in Belgium, in Israel, in America, and in India. So that's how it is. But we know it is not non-violent. Yes.
Shivakumar, this question is there any code of conduct for kings in Jain philosophy?
Code of conduct for kings. I think the basic code of conduct remains the same, is to minimize violence. So, of course, no meat consumption. So historically, many emperors, many kings in South and North India have gone out of their way to support Jain monks and nuns. So they will, donate heavily to these Jain monks and nuns historically, and by their own lifestyle try to, as they retire, for example, maybe after the age of 75, for example, Ashoka's own grandfather, Chandragupta Maurya, had completely renounced all his kingdom and all his wealth, and he became a Jain acharya. He became a Jain monk, and legend has it that he lived somewhere near the Bahubali in Karnataka. So those are some examples of Jain kings and emperors. Kumar Pal, for example, in Gujarat, who built all these magnificent temples across Rajasthan and Gujarat. Many temples were built. So historically, they donate their wealth to promote more Jain principles by these temples and by donating to Jain acharyas, monks.
Urvashi Baid has this question: what about violence against mosquitoes at home? I am a Jain, and this haunts me all the time.
Sorry, I didn't get it. Violence by? Sorry, what was that?
Violence against mosquitoes.
Okay. I think the best way is to minimize the growth of mosquitoes or any viruses rather than going and killing mosquitoes, because that's, again, violence. So best is to keep everything clean and hygienic and everything, so you don't grow them, so you don't have to kill them. But of course, killing is killing.
Here, there's a comment here by Nayanthara Chakravarti.
Sure.
About, I'm not sure how Buddhism promoted vegetarianism. After all, Buddha died by consuming poisoned pork. Jainism, of course, I understand the point on vegetarianism. You had earlier made a comment that Buddhism also promoted vegetarianism. Right. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I think the problem is that proper historical study of the life of Buddha and Mahavir has not yet been done. There are many theories and stories how exactly Buddha died. There are some stories that Buddha ate poisonous mushroom, not meat. So that's one story. But there are also examples where Buddha, I think, reluctantly allowed his disciples, his monks and nuns, to accept meat if it is given by their supporters. So Buddhism does not go to that extreme of absolutely sticking to non-violence to the letter, to the spirit, as Jains have been doing. So of course, Jains are to the ultimate, and Buddha is sort of middle way between the two extremes. But I do know that in Tibet, here in Dallas, there is a Tibetan monk, and his entire community in Tibet is completely vegetarian, completely vegan even. And he himself is a passionate vegan in Dallas. So there are communities even outside India who are Buddhists and who stick to vegetarianism. So yes, so there are these diverse examples in the Buddhist community across the world. In Thailand and Malaysia, for example, I've seen Buddhists who will take tofu but no meat. Right. So there are different examples.
Thank you very much, sir.